Welcome to Hoosier Homeland, an Indiana Department of Homeland Security podcast. This podcast discusses and explores the latest news and insights in emergency management and public safety. Join us as we engage with subject matter experts and bring you the latest on how IDHS is working to provide Hoosiers with a safe, secure, and resilient Indiana. Sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Today on the pod, we are celebrating Emergency Management Appreciation Week. We are joined by two special guests, the Delaware County Emergency Management Director, John Coutinho, and the Deputy Director, Cory Kissick. As we dive into our discussion with John and Cory, let's first explore what Emergency Management Appreciation Week is about. This annual observance, held this year from February 18th through the 24th, is dedicated to recognizing the vital contributions of emergency management professionals like John and Cory, who work tirelessly to keep our community safe and prepared for any crisis or disaster. This week, we honor their dedication, resilience, and unwavering commitment to public safety. From coordinating disaster response efforts to educating the public on preparedness, EMAs play a crucial role in safeguarding lives and property, often behind the scenes. Now, let's head to the Delaware County Emergency Management Agency to hear from John and Cory about their experiences, insights, and the importance of their work within their community.
My name is John Coutinho, and I'm the Executive Director of Emergency Management here in Delaware County, and been in emergency management for 8 years, 4 years as a director. For me, I have been in public safety all my life. Started at 15 as a cadet with an EMS service, volunteer EMS service. Did that for approximately 10 years. Moved into the fire service at 18 with the volunteer fire department. Did that and currently still doing that this is my 20th year there, and law enforcement. So I've been a law enforcement officer for 22 years this year, I believe. So, putting all those together just kind of leads you in one path that combines all those in one shot. And the opportunity arose for me to come on as a deputy director here in Delaware County, and I jumped on that to further pursue that.
Have you always been in Delaware County, or?
Always, yep.
Always.
Between Albany, I live in Albany, so that's where all my emergency services came in, and I work as a police officer at IU Health Hospital too.
My name is Cory Kissick, and I'm the Deputy Director for Delaware County Emergency Management. And myself, I'm also an Albany native. I'm fifth generation in the fire service, been with the volunteer fire department since I got out of high school. Ended up pursuing a volunteer role at the Albany Police Department as a reserve police officer, and then I actually worked across the hall here at the 911 Center, where I worked as a supervisor for 8 years. Mm-hmm. And then one of the directors that was over here left, went to another county, and John got promoted to director, and there was a job opening, so I ended up applying for that position and got the job.
What kind of drew you in?
The planning side of it. With my fire department, I've always been kind of involved in the pre-planning section and doing the pre-incident plans and surveys, and I kind of liked that about over here is it's all planning, and it's a 50-50 field work and 50-50 office work with planning and administration. You get to go there's a lot of exercise involved. I really like the exercise, and I liked the role of planning and preparing for other people. I just enjoyed that part of it.
So what specific aspects of emergency management kind of drew you in and made you passionate about this field?
For me, I'd say it's the partnerships. Working in a specific discipline, police, fire, or EMS, you have to kind of stick with that discipline. With EMA, you work together with all those as a whole. So being able to do that and still fulfill the passion for the other emergency services is kind of the trifecta for me. So I like being able to work with all the disciplines, make plans, and be prepared for our community. So it's kind of all inclusive there.
Is there a moment that kind of solidified your commitment to emergency management?
I'd say for me, it's probably the first deployment that I went on. I mean, I always liked doing this stuff. There's a lot of, like Cory said earlier, there's a lot of, office work mixed in with, field work. But my first deployment was probably the one that really made me say, yeah, I want to continue doing this. And that was to Hurricane Harvey down in Louisiana for a week. So coming back from that made me realize I really, really enjoy what I'm doing here and why I'm doing it.
And that's about the same for me also. There's two parts of it. One of them was a larger incident that we had here where our agency is involved with the hazmat team and actually going to a legitimate hazmat call out. And then we had a deployment to Kentucky that really kind of set it in for me. It was like 2 years after I got hired, but after we went to that deployment, I actually saw what an actual disaster looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Then it kind of set in and was like, okay, this is serious.
What do you find most rewarding about being an EMA?
I would say seeing the plans that we set in place come to fruition. So actually seeing them work, play out, and the benefit of having those plans in a disaster and or emergency, just knowing that, hey, because we set those plans in place, things ran smooth and everybody worked well together. So seeing that's pretty rewarding.
Another part of it is when people come into our office and just kind of ask what we do, and they see that we have these plans in place that they didn't know existed. Half of them didn't even know our job existed to begin with. It's the ease that you see that the people know that there's somebody in this role doing that job and thinking about stuff that they don't think about and planning for those things.
What are some of the unique challenges that you guys face in emergency management, both personally and professionally? How do you handle that?
I'd say, honestly, some of the challenges is as much as I like to work together with everybody, those are also challenges. Everybody has their own set plans in place for their personal or their individual departments, and trying to marry those plans with other agencies in a large scale event is challenging. But being able to sit in one room with that group of people and discuss the best option for all agencies involved is probably the best way. I mean, the one way to get over that. Personally, the only personal challenge that I see is the time dedication at times. If you have to get deployed to a disaster somewhere, taking that time away from your family or your other job, your other duties in town, that's a challenge personally, but it's not something that is hard to overcome. I mean, obviously, going into these roles that's a possibility anytime. So, making sure that I spend time with my family and doing everything I can in my downtime is probably the best way to kind of overcome some of those, separating work and the best we can on a 24-hour basis, but separating work and home. So that's probably a way to come over some of those challenges.
For me, it's planning for the unknown. We come and we create some sort of plan, whether it's localized or it's working with our district, and modifying those so it works for our county, and planning for stuff that's, one, not happened, or two, has never happened, and then hoping that when it does happen that the plans are right and accurate. And I know that's why we exercise and plan practice, but that side of it, and then like John said, at home, everything's unknown. You don't. We have a little bit of a heads up when bad weather is going to come in, but we don't know if it's going to, when it's going to happen, or how bad it's going to be, and we have to plan our family life around that event, and then come to work regardless, but also know that our family, wonder if our family is going to be okay during that as well.
Since you've been emergency director, what would you say is the biggest challenge you've had, or like the biggest event that you've had here?
So currently, I'll stick with the solar eclipse because, we've been working on plans with that, obviously, with at the state level, at the local level, and that's a challenge right now because, like Cory said, it's an unknown. We know how the event's going to play out. We know what's going to happen in the sky, but we can't account for how many people will or will not show up in our county, and that's a huge challenge, because we can look back at other events and kind of build a plan off of that, but that doesn't mean that we're going to have that same thing here. We could have 5 times that. We could have less than that. You know,
Yeah.
so that's a challenge, and like Cory said, building plans based off of something that's not happened in our area and only looking historically what's happened in the past is a tough way to juggle that. So we've had meetings with our local public safety agencies. We've had meetings with the schools, our LAPC and EMAC, and the number of people that don't look at the solar eclipse as a huge event is baffling.
Yeah.
You know, we just had a meeting with all of our small towns last week, and the number of people that came up and said, you guys are really kind of expecting something big. I'm like, well, yeah, we are, but we're hoping that it's not.
Yeah.
And I said, but I'd rather have all this stuff in place and everybody have too many people as opposed to not enough. So that's a huge challenge right now. And I'm sure it's with everybody because, our city government is planning events downtown and vendors and concerts and all this stuff. And here we're trying to plan to keep people at bay that come in. So they're drawing people in and we're hoping that people, I mean, it's just it's a mix. So it's a challenge on both sides. Now, everybody's done well together and they've been well receiving the information, but still that's probably my current challenge is that.
I'm wondering, what are some common misconceptions people have about the role of emergency management agencies and how they kind of play into the county and your community?
I think maybe the biggest misconception is that we are over all public safety agencies. People see emergency management and think we run the fire departments and the EMS. Now, sometimes in certain areas they do. Our area, we don't. So, trying to explain to people, no, we don't have anything to do with the ambulance calls that just went out or the fire department. So, and making them understand, our main focus here in Delaware County is to work on preparedness, community preparedness, individual family preparedness, those things. And I feel like we do a pretty good job of that. We have a base of volunteers, about 30 volunteers. We do sit out at some public events and kind of promote that preparedness. Cory's got a group of guys that will go out and do stuff like that as well. So I'd say that's our biggest thing is just being prepared.
One that I see is like John said, we have a support corps that's based up of volunteers we've got a couple of divisions and they do a lot of traffic control. So a lot of people are in the misconception that our agency is a traffic control agency, because that's how they see us. They don't see us day to day in the office and going to the district meetings and going to the exercises and sitting on these committees. They don't see that. They just see us sitting on intersections. So they assume that's what our role is.
I'm wondering, what role do community partnerships play in effective emergency management for Delaware County, and how do you foster those relationships?
So our community partners that we meet with them at our EMAC meetings and our COAD meetings, and that's a good information sharing. So probably the biggest asset we have or resource we have from our community partners that I can think of is sheltering. A lot of our community partners have sheltering capabilities, food service capabilities for, power outages or large scale events that would require that. So that's probably our biggest partnership that we have. Now we also partnership with, a lot of the healthcare facilities. So during COVID, we used a lot of them for COVID vaccinations, and we would meet with them. And we still now, since COVID, we've actually brought our healthcare partners into our COAD and EMAC groups. Used to, they were on their own separate thing, but it's good to have those relationships to continue building off of. So, and that's not, I don't want people to think that's just what it is sheltering, because there's other aspects that they bring too. But the biggest one is probably the sheltering, because you have cold winters and hot summers, and sometimes you have to have those things. Power out where it's thunderstorms, power gets knocked out, so we have to find somewhere, and that's our biggest ask is, hey, where can we get some of these people?
Do you find that the community is receptive to that?
Oh, I 100% believe that. I mean, it's good that we can get out, or we share those contact info with the community on our Facebook pages, and they're able to call them the food pantries and sheltering places, and they're able to reach out to them as well. So yeah, I think they're very receptive to it and love having it out there, because those are services that are for the most part they're free. They're free to the public. So obviously everybody likes free, and it helps. It's beneficial. So if it's beneficial and there's no cost, then yeah, it's absolutely great.
So I'm wondering, are there any specific skills or qualities you believe are essential for success in the field of emergency management?
I think the ability to work well with others, have a good knowledge of emergency services in general. I'm not saying you have to be a policeman, a fireman, or an EMS worker to understand emergency management, but having some knowledge of that helps you on scenes know what their role is, what your role is as an emergency manager to help mitigate some of those and spread your resources out. So I would say that that's probably pretty solid of a skill or quality that you need to have. Being able to maintain yourself, keep your cool and have reasoning abilities.
That flexibility, of being able to just wake up at 3 a.m. and have to come into work, having those aspects make the job work really well. And along with that is knowledge of the incident command system and NIMS. Coming into this, you have to know that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like kind of your pretty basic. Before even coming and working in this field, you need to have some sort of knowledge with how that stuff works.
So I'm wondering, do you have like a moment where in your career where you felt effective emergency management made a significant impact?
Yeah, I would go back to the Hurricane Harvey, simply because, like Cory said earlier, actually seeing, here we don't have many disasters, but actually being able to see firsthand the impact of a natural disaster, of a hurricane or something, really kind of humbles you. So that had a lasting impact on me. We go down there and our mindset is, hey, we're here to help. But then you actually see what you're doing and how those people are affected, while they're also relieved that you're there to help them. The devastation that they have to still deal with after you leave, it's pretty humbling. So I would say that's probably my most memorable success or I guess I shouldn't say success, but it is, because I know that I went down there and helped them through a tough time, or at least part of their tough time. So
I'm wondering, how has the field of emergency management evolved during your career, and what changes do you see or anticipate in the future?
in my career, it's a short career, 8 years, but still evolved. I think any department or agency can agree with this, and that's the times of the social media. When I first came in, we kind of had a Facebook page, and we posted some stuff every now and again, but in the 8 years of being here, it's your main go-to. I mean, everything is social media. I mean, there's, the Facebook pages, the Twitter, Instagram. I mean, everybody uses those outlets because that's what everybody lives on now. So, you can't put things in the paper anymore. I just had a class and we talked about that, routes of information. And that was one of them that was put on the back burner. Used to, that'd be your first way to go. Hey, call the paper, put it in it. No, most people don't get the paper now, but they go right to Facebook and, Twitter and all these things. So that's evolved tremendously. That's one thing you have to worry about on scenes as well is, are people here video cameraing and taking pictures and posting this stuff before maybe families know, or you don't always see the whole picture or the whole story. So only seeing part of it, in my response, if I say, hey, someone sends me a video or a picture of something happening, but I only see this one small area, then I don't get the whole picture. I don't understand. I may walk into something that's worse than what it's really portraying. So that could be a big downfall or a pitfall for us as responders, police, fire, and EMS alike. I mean, you say, oh, this is just a single car accident because that's what I see on the Facebook Live, but you get there and there's 6 cars involved and several children and a school bus. I mean, it's, that could really impact your response time. Okay, with one car, we'll just send one truck and one police officer and call it a day. But you get there and it's even bigger. So, I mean, that could very well impact us and how we respond and what we do.
Gotcha. What would you say to someone considering a career in emergency management? Any advice or insights you have?
Every year, I usually get an intern from Ball State University, and I kind of take those kids that come over here, and
I put them to work in here, but a lot of it's shadowing me because I want them to understand what the job is and not from just what they read about it on the internet. Some of the advice that I can give you is just pay attention in school, networking, come over here, be polite, be professional, network, meet all your department heads, meet your elected officials, and then try to get everybody in the same room to work together to exercise and to execute some sort of plan. So just networking and learning how to talk to people, that's some of the best advice I can give you.
I'd just add in, never stop learning. I mean, everything that we do, whether it be an exercise or a real world event, there's always something to learn from it. So if you never stop learning, then you can only get better. You need to, in a sense, for lack of better words, maybe have a hardened skin, a toughened skin, because you're going to hear negative feedback. You're going to get that stuff on events that you go to. Why didn't you do this? Why did you do it this way? So, being able to work through that, take constructive criticism and build on that. They're not downfalls. They're just gaps. And gaps are great because you learn from those gaps. You can make it better from there forward, and you know what to do better next time. So I would say just never stop learning and be prepared to take some negative and turn it into a positive.
As we wrap up our discussion with John and Cory, we depart with a newfound appreciation for the unseen threads that weave our communities together. Through their stories, we glimpse the resilience, the compassion, and the unyielding spirit that define emergency management. As we commemorate this week, let's express our gratitude to all EMAs for their tireless effort in preparing, responding to, and recovering from emergencies and disasters. To learn more about Emergency Management Appreciation Week and how you can get involved, visit on.in.gov/EMA week. In our next episode, we are diving into a 2-part series about what you need to know about the upcoming total solar eclipse. From essential preparation tips to the science behind this celestial phenomenon, we'll guide you on how to make the most of this rare event. Don't miss out on the chance to experience the wonder of a total solar eclipse firsthand. Tune in and get ready to witness nature's grandest show in the sky. We will see you in the next episode. Until then, stay informed, stay prepared, and take control of your safety.